My name is Margaret, and I never thought my own child would look at me like I was nothing. Before I begin, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel if you love deep, emotional stories that speak the truth about family, betrayal, and strength. Like this video, turn on your notification bell, and tell me in the comments which part of the country you are watching from. I read the comments, and your support keeps these stories alive. Now listen closely, because what I am about to tell you still makes my hands shake. It was my daughter's wedding day. The day I had dreamed about since the first time I held her in my arms. The day I prayed for when she was sick as a child. The day I worked extra hours for, saved money for, and gave up my own happiness for. And that was the day she kicked me out. Not quietly. Not gently. Not with shame. She kicked me out in front of everyone. The music was playing. People were laughing. Cameras were flashing. I stood near the back of the hall in my simple dress, holding a small gift I bought with my last savings. My heart was full, even though my seat was far from the front. I told myself, it's okay. As long as I am here. Then I felt a hard tap on my shoulder. I turned around, smiling, thinking someone needed help. But it was her. My daughter. Her face was tight. Cold. Angry. She leaned close to me and whispered, "You shouldn't be here." At first, I laughed softly. Of course I should. I'm your mother. Her eyes hardened. "Leave," she said. "Now." I felt my chest tighten. "What are you saying?" She straightened up, her voice louder now so others could hear. "You are embarrassing me. People are asking questions. Just go." The music kept playing, but the room felt silent to me. Heads turned. Whispers started. I felt small. Very small. "I raised you," I said quietly. "I carried you for 9 months. I paid for your school. She cut me off. "You don't fit in here," she snapped. "This is my day. Don't ruin it." Then she waved her hand toward the door like I was a stranger. "Please leave before you cause a scene." My legs felt weak. My fingers trembled around the gift bag. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But no sound came out. I looked around the hall, hoping someone would say something. Anyone. No one did. So I walked out. Each step felt heavier than the last. The bright hall faded behind me as I pushed open the door and stepped into the sun. Outside, people were laughing, taking pictures, celebrating love. And I stood there alone. I sat on a bench and cried until my eyes burned. I asked myself again and again, what did I do wrong? But the worst part. That was not the end. That night, I barely slept. My heart ached, but I still tried to make excuses for her. Maybe she was stressed. Maybe the wedding pressure was too much. I told myself I would forgive her. Then the next morning came. My phone rang early. I looked at the screen and saw her name. For a moment, my heart lifted. She's calling to apologize, I thought. I answered quickly. "Hello, my dear. I need something from you," she said, cutting me off. "No apology. No greeting. What do you need?" I asked, already uneasy. "The property papers," she said flatly. "The house documents. All of them." My breath caught. "What papers?" I asked slowly, even though I already knew. "The house," she said, impatient. "The one in your name. I need the documents today." I sat up straight. "Why?" There was a pause. Then she sighed like I was the problem. "Because it's time," she said. "You're old. You don't need it anymore. My husband and I have plans." My hands went cold. "You kicked me out of your wedding yesterday," I said softly. "And today you want my property?" Her voice changed. Sharp. Hard. "Don't act like a victim," she snapped. "You've lived your life. It's my turn now." I felt something break inside me. "That house is everything I have," I said. "I worked my whole life for it. And I'm your daughter, she replied. So it belongs to me anyway. Then she said something that made my heart stop. If you don't give me the papers willingly, she said, I'll make sure you regret it. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my mind spinning. Kicked out of her wedding one day. Threatened for my property the next. I slowly stood up and walked to the small cabinet where I kept the documents. My hands hovered over it, shaking. Because what my daughter didn't know was that those papers held a secret. A secret that could change everything. And just as I opened the cabinet, I heard a knock at my door. A hard knock. Not friendly. Not patient. I froze. Because deep down I knew. This was only the beginning. The knock came again. Harder this time. My heart jumped so fast I thought it would tear through my chest. I stood still in the middle of my small living room, staring at the door like it might break open on its own. Who could that be? I wondered. I had no close friends left. Most people stopped visiting me after my daughter grew older and built her own life. Neighbors rarely knocked unless there was trouble. The knock came a third time. Open the door, a voice said from outside. It was a man's voice. Firm. Cold. I slowly walked closer, my legs shaking. I did not open it yet. Who is it? I asked, my voice weak. It's me, the voice replied. Open up. I recognized it. My daughter's husband. The same man who stood smiling beside her at the altar yesterday. The same man who did not even look at me when she told me to leave the wedding. I swallowed hard and unlocked the door. He stood there in a neat shirt and dark trousers. His face held no warmth. Behind him, my daughter sat in a car, looking at her phone, not even glancing my way. He stepped inside without waiting for permission. We don't have much time, he said. Where are the papers? I closed the door slowly. You should not be here, I said. You should both be ashamed. He laughed. A short, dry laugh. This is not about feelings, he said. This is business. I felt anger rise in my chest. That house is mine. I am still alive. He leaned closer. Not for long if you keep standing in our way. Those words chilled me to the bone. I looked past him through the window. My daughter still would not look at me. Is this what I raised you for? I called out to her. To threaten your own mother? She finally looked up. Her eyes were empty. Stop talking, she said. Just give us the papers and let's finish this. Finish this. Like I was nothing more than a problem to be solved. I walked slowly to the cabinet and pulled it open. Inside were old files, receipts, photographs, and the brown envelope with the property documents. My fingers touched the envelope. But I did not pull it out. Instead, I closed the cabinet. Her husband frowned. What are you doing? I need to sit, I said. I feel dizzy. He crossed his arms. Don't waste our time. I lowered myself onto the couch. My mind was racing. Memories flooded my head. Years ago, when my husband was still alive, we bought that house together. We struggled. We skipped meals. We worked day and night. After he passed away, I continued paying everything alone. That house was my safety. My only security. And now they wanted to take it like it meant nothing. I will not sign anything today, I said firmly. My daughter stood up from the car and stormed inside. You are being selfish, she shouted. After everything I've done for you. I looked at her in disbelief. Everything you've done for me? Yes, she said. I let you live alone. I didn't disturb you. I didn't complain. I laughed bitterly. That is what you call kindness. Her face turned red. You always act like a victim. You think the world owes you something because you are old. Her words cut deep. I carried you, I said softly. I fed you. I protected you. She rolled her eyes. Enough of the past. Sign the papers. Her husband placed the envelope on the table and slid it toward me. He dropped a pen beside it. Sign, he said, or things will get difficult. I looked at the pen. My hand trembled. But then I remembered something important. A conversation from years ago. My late husband's voice echoed in my head. Never put everything in one name, he had said. People change. Even family. I lifted my head and looked straight at them. You cannot sell that house, I said calmly. They both froze. What do you mean? My daughter asked. It does not fully belong to me, I said. And it does not belong to you. Her husband's eyes narrowed. Explain yourself. I cannot, I replied. Not today. My daughter laughed. You're lying. I stood up slowly. You may leave now. Her husband stepped closer, his face inches from mine. You think you're smart, he whispered. You think we won't find a way? My daughter crossed her arms. You have 1 week, she said. 1 week to cooperate. Then she turned and walked out. Her husband followed, slamming the door behind him. I collapsed back onto the couch, shaking. My house felt smaller, colder. I walked to the cabinet again, pulled out the brown envelope, and then reached behind it, to a hidden folder. Inside were documents no one knew about. Documents that explained everything. I sat there staring at them, knowing one thing for sure. If my daughter discovered what was inside this folder, she would never look at me the same way again. And just then, my phone buzzed with a new message. One short sentence. We know you're hiding something. My heart dropped. Because now I knew. They were not going to stop. I did not sleep that night. Every small sound made me jump. The wind against the window. A car passing by. Even the ticking of the old clock on the wall felt too loud. I kept replaying my daughter's words in my head. You have 1 week. 1 week to hand over my life. I sat on my bed holding the hidden folder against my chest like it was my heart. My hands shook as I opened it again, even though I already knew what was inside. Old papers. Legal papers. And one handwritten letter. The letter was yellow with age. The edges were worn. I recognized the handwriting immediately. My husband's. Tears filled my eyes as I traced the letters with my fingers. If you are reading this, then the time has come, the letter began. I remembered the day he wrote it. He was sick but calm. He told me to keep it safe and never show it to anyone unless I truly had no choice. At the time, I did not understand why. Now I did. The letter explained everything. The house was not fully in my name. A large part of it had been placed into a trust, protected by law. The trust was created to make sure I would always have a place to live and that no one, not even our own child, could force me out. There was one condition. If anyone tried to take the house through pressure, threats or lies, the ownership would shift in a way they would never expect. I closed my eyes. My husband had seen this coming. I whispered. You knew. But knowing the truth did not make things easier. It made them more dangerous. Because my daughter and her husband were not the kind of people who stopped when they heard, no. They wanted control. And they believed fear would break me. The next morning, I heard footsteps outside before I even finished my tea. I peeked through the curtain. 2 men stood near my gate. Strangers. They wore serious faces and dark clothes. One held a clipboard. My stomach dropped. I opened the door carefully, keeping the chain on. Yes, I asked. We're here to inspect the property, one of them said. Routine check. Who sent you? I asked. He glanced at the clipboard. New owners. My heart pounded. There are no new owners, I said firmly. He shrugged. That's not what we were told. I closed the door without another word and locked it. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I called my daughter. She answered on the second ring. Call them off, I said. Now. She laughed softly. They're just checking. Nothing to worry about. You lied to them, I said. You told them you own this house. She did not deny it. You have 3 days now, she said. Not a week. The call ended. I slid down against the door, my back pressed to the wood, breathing hard. That was when I realized something important. This was no longer just a family fight. This was war. I needed help. But who could I trust? I had lived quietly for so long. I had avoided trouble. I had forgiven too much. But now I had no choice. I pulled myself up and went to the small wooden box under my bed. Inside was an old phone number written on a piece of paper. A lawyer. Not just any lawyer. A man my husband trusted more than anyone. I had not spoken to him in years. My finger hovered over the phone as fear crept in. What if it's too late? I took a deep breath and dialed. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Then a calm voice answered. Hello. My name is Margaret, I said, my voice breaking. You knew my husband. There was a pause. Then he said quietly, I've been waiting for this call. My heart skipped. You have? Yes, he said. Because your husband warned me this day might come. Tears streamed down my face. I don't know what to do, I admitted. First, he said firmly, do not sign anything. Do not leave your house. And do not let anyone inside again. What about my daughter? I asked. His voice softened. Especially not her. That night, he came to see me. He read the documents carefully, nodding slowly. They don't know what they're walking into, he said. But they're pushing hard, I said. They sent people. They're threatening me. He leaned back in his chair. Then we move faster. He explained the plan. The trust. The conditions. The consequences. If my daughter continued this path, she would lose far more than she expected. But there was a problem. To activate this protection, he said, we need proof. Proof of what? I asked. Proof that they are trying to force you, he replied. Threats. Lies. Witnesses. My heart sank. They are careful, I said. They say things over the phone. In private. He nodded. Then we make them talk. I felt fear rise again. How? He met my eyes. By letting them think they are winning. The idea scared me. You want me to pretend to agree? I asked. Yes, he said. Just enough to expose them. I shook my head. They are my family. He sighed. Family does not threaten family. His words stayed with me. The next day, I sent my daughter a short message. We need to talk. She replied almost immediately. Good. You're finally being reasonable. My hands trembled as I typed the next line. I'm ready to discuss the papers. Her response came fast. Come tomorrow. Alone. Alone. That word made my chest tighten. I showed the message to the lawyer. He frowned. You won't be alone, he said. But they must think you are. That night, as I packed my bag, I felt like I was walking into a trap. Because I knew something they did not. If they crossed one more line, they would trigger a truth they could never undo. And as I turned off the lights, my phone buzzed again. A final message from my daughter. Don't make me regret being patient. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Because tomorrow, everything would change. The morning came too fast. I barely slept, and when the sun rose, it felt heavy, like it was watching me. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding my small bag, whispering a quiet prayer. My hands were cold, even though the room was warm. Today, I would face my daughter. Today, I would pretend to surrender. Before I left, the lawyer came again. He did not wear a suit. He dressed simply, like someone who did not want attention. Remember, he said calmly, say as little as possible. Let them talk. I nodded. And if things go wrong? They won't, he replied. But if they do, stay calm. Fear makes people careless. His words stayed with me as I locked my door and stepped outside. A car was already waiting. My daughter's husband sat in the driver's seat. He did not smile. Get in, he said. The drive was quiet. Too quiet. No music. No small talk. Just the sound of the engine and my own heartbeat. We stopped in front of a large house I had never been inside before. Their new home. Big gates. Clean walls. Perfect grass. Everything I never had. I followed him inside. My daughter sat on a couch, dressed neatly, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Sit, she said. I sat. They placed papers on the table between us. Not the original documents. Copies. Many copies. We want this done today, her husband said. No delays. I told you, my daughter added. We've been patient. I took a deep breath and lowered my eyes like I was defeated. I'm tired, I said softly. I don't want trouble. Her posture relaxed just a little. That's better, she said. I just want to understand, I continued slowly. Why now? She sighed like a teacher talking to a slow student. Because you're alone, she said. And because it's smart. Smart for who? I asked. For us, she replied without shame. Her husband leaned forward. Once the house is sold, we'll take care of you. Where would I live? I asked. He shrugged. We'll figure something out. Something about the way he said it made my stomach twist. I nodded slowly. I need time to think. My daughter slammed her hand on the table. No. You've had time. I flinched on purpose. I wanted them to feel powerful. Please, I said quietly. I just want one thing. They exchanged a look. What? My daughter asked. I want you to say it, I said. Why you really want the house? Her husband smirked. Because we deserve it. And because, my daughter added, you don't. The words hit me hard, even though I expected them. You've always been small, she continued. You lived quietly. You never reached higher. That house is wasted on you. I nodded, my eyes filled with tears. I gave up everything for you, I whispered. She leaned closer. And that's your mistake. Her husband laughed. People like you don't need ownership. You need permission. Permission. I felt my heart burn. So if I refuse? I asked softly. My daughter's smile disappeared. Then we make life difficult. Her husband added. Very difficult. I looked at the papers again. You're forcing me. She rolled her eyes. Call it motivation. I reached into my bag and pulled out a pen. My hand shook. Sign, she said. I hesitated. Sign, her husband repeated. I lowered the pen to the paper. And then I stopped. I can't, I said. The room went silent. What did you say? My daughter asked. I said I can't, I repeated. Because you lied. Her husband stood up. Careful. You told inspectors you were the new owner, I said. You threatened me. You pushed me out of your wedding. My daughter scoffed. So, I said, lifting my head. That triggers something. Their faces changed. What are you talking about? Her husband asked. I stood up slowly. The house is protected. My daughter laughed loudly. Protected by what? Your tears. Before I could answer, the front door opened. A man stepped inside. My lawyer. Her husband's face turned pale. Who is that? He demanded. The lawyer smiled calmly. Someone you should have listened to. My daughter stood up. You tricked us. No, I said quietly. You exposed yourselves. The lawyer placed a folder on the table. Threats, he said. False claims. Coercion. Witnesses. My daughter's voice shook. This is illegal. So is forcing an elderly woman to give up her home, he replied. Her husband clenched his fists. We'll fight this. The lawyer nodded. Good. Because once this goes to court, the trust activates. My daughter looked at me, fear in her eyes for the first time. What trust? I met her gaze. The one that takes the house out of everyone's hands. Silence filled the room. Her husband whispered, You planned this. I shook my head. Your father did. My daughter stepped back like she had been slapped. The lawyer gathered the papers. This meeting is over. As we walked toward the door, my daughter shouted, This isn't finished. I stopped and turned around. You're right, I said calmly. It's just beginning. Outside, my knees nearly gave way. The lawyer caught my arm. That went well, he said. Did it? I asked. He nodded. They showed their worst side. On record. I exhaled slowly. But deep inside I knew something. People who want control do not give up easily. And as we drove away, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You will pay for humiliating US. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. Because now, the masks were off. And I feared what they would do next. I did not go home that night. The lawyer insisted I stay somewhere safe. He said it calmly, but his eyes told me the truth. He believed the threats were real. So I stayed in a small guest room at his office building. It was quiet, clean, and unfamiliar. The walls were plain, and the bed felt too big for one person. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound. I kept thinking about my daughter's face when she realized she was losing control. I had never seen fear in her eyes before. Only confidence. Only pride. Now that confidence had cracked. And that scared me more than her anger. Early the next morning, my phone buzzed. A message. From her. I hope you're happy. I did not reply. Another message came a few minutes later. You chose a stranger over your own child. My chest tightened, but I stayed silent. Then the messages changed. You don't know what you've done. We won't let this go. I turned the phone face down. The lawyer knocked lightly on the door. Are you ready? He asked. For what? I replied. To see what they did to your house. My heart dropped. We drove in silence. As we turned onto my street, I knew something was wrong before I even saw the house. Neighbors stood outside in small groups, whispering. Some looked away when they saw me. Others stared with pity. The lawyer parked the car. I stepped out slowly. My front gate was open. Broken. The lock lay on the ground, twisted and useless. I covered my mouth with my hand. We walked closer. My front door was wide open. Inside, everything was chaos. Drawers pulled out. Papers scattered. Chairs turned over. My small cabinet lay on its side, empty. They were here, I whispered. The lawyer nodded. And they wanted to scare you. I walked into the living room on shaking legs. Family photos were ripped from the wall. One frame was shattered on the floor. A picture of my daughter as a child lay broken. Tears streamed down my face. They crossed a line, the lawyer said firmly. I walked into my bedroom. My bed was torn apart. Clothes thrown everywhere. My wooden box was smashed open. I rushed to the cabinet. The hidden folder was gone. My heart stopped. They took it, I said in panic. The documents. The lawyer moved quickly. He checked the room, then let out a slow breath. They took copies, he said. Not the originals. I looked at him in confusion. I moved the originals yesterday, he continued. Just in case. My legs gave way, and I sat on the bed, crying in relief and fear at the same time. But this, he added, is very serious. What do we do now? I asked. Now, he said, We protect you, and we go on record. The police came. I told my story slowly, carefully. The threats. The pressure. The break-in. Saying it out loud made it real. As the officer wrote everything down, my phone rang again. I showed it to him. A new message. Check your house. Next time, it won't be empty. The officer's jaw tightened. That's a threat, he said. We'll add it. My hands shook as I signed the report. By the afternoon, the story had spread. Neighbors talked. Family members called. Some asked if it was true. Others blamed me. You should have just given them what they wanted, one cousin said. They're young. They need it more, another added. I hung up and cried. Why was I the villain for protecting myself? That evening, the lawyer sat with me again. They are desperate, he said. And desperate people make mistakes. What if they hurt me? I asked quietly. He did not lie. That is why we must act quickly. He explained the next step. A court order, protection, and a formal activation of the trust. But once we do that, he warned, there is no turning back. I nodded. I already lost my daughter, I said. I won't lose my life too. That night, I stayed somewhere else again. And in the dark, I remembered something I had not told him yet. Something important. My daughter's husband, I said softly, has a secret. The lawyer looked at me. What kind of secret? I swallowed. One that could destroy him. His eyes sharpened. Tell me. I took a deep breath. Years ago, I began. I saw documents that did not make sense. Names. Numbers. Accounts. The lawyer leaned forward. You think he's hiding money? I know he is, I replied. The room went silent. If we can prove that, he said slowly, everything changes. I nodded. But he doesn't know that I know. The lawyer stood up. Then we don't warn him. I looked down at my hands. I never wanted revenge. I only wanted peace. But they left me no choice. And as I tried to sleep, my phone buzzed one last time. A voice message. I pressed play. It was my daughter. Crying. But her words were cold. You think you won, she said. You didn't. I will take everything from you. I turned off the phone. Because deep inside, I knew the truth. She had already lost. She just didn't know it yet. The next few days passed slowly, like time itself was afraid to move. I stayed in a quiet place arranged by the lawyer. It was small but safe. A locked gate. Cameras. A guard who checked every visitor. I had never lived like this before. I felt like a prisoner. But a prisoner who was still alive. Every morning, I woke up with a heavy heart. I missed my home. I missed the life I used to have. I missed believing my daughter loved me. The lawyer visited me often. Each time, he carried more papers, more files, more worry on his face. They are digging, he told me one afternoon. And so are we. What does that mean? I asked. It means your daughter and her husband are trying to find loopholes, he said. They are talking to people. Asking questions. Making claims. And you? I asked. He looked at me carefully. We found something. My heart skipped. What kind of something? He placed a folder on the table and opened it slowly. Your daughter's husband, he began, is not as clean as he pretends to be. I nodded. I told you. Yes, he said. But now we have proof. He showed me documents. Bank statements. Transfers. Accounts under different names. He's been moving money, the lawyer explained. Large amounts. Not declared. Not legal. My hands trembled as I looked at the numbers. This is serious, I whispered. It's more than serious, he replied. If this goes public, he could lose everything. I closed my eyes. Part of me felt sick. Another part felt relief. Does my daughter know? I asked. The lawyer shook his head. Not yet. I thought about her. About how she trusted him. How she followed him without question. I wondered if she was also a victim. But then I remembered her words. You don't deserve it. And my heart hardened again. That evening, my phone rang. An unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello. There was silence. Then breathing. Slow. Heavy. I know you're hiding, a man's voice said. It was him. My daughter's husband. My stomach tightened. What do you want? I asked. To talk, he replied. Like adults. You already talked, I said. With threats. He laughed softly. That was business. I have nothing to say to you, I replied. You do, he said. You just don't know it yet. My heart pounded. If you threaten me again, this call is being recorded. There was a pause. Then his tone changed. You think your lawyer is protecting you, he said. But lawyers disappear. People make mistakes. Fear crawled up my spine. Why are you calling? I demanded. Because you still have a chance, he said. Give us what we want, and all of this ends. And if I don't? He lowered his voice. Then things get ugly. I hung up. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. I showed the lawyer the call record immediately. He nodded grimly. Good. He's panicking. That doesn't make me feel better, I said. It should, he replied. Panicked people expose themselves. The next day, something unexpected happened. My daughter came alone. She stood outside the gate, looking smaller than I remembered. No makeup. No pride. Just anger mixed with fear. I want to talk to my mother, she told the guard. The lawyer looked at me. Your choice. My heart raced. I'll talk, I said. But not alone. We met in a small room. The lawyer sat quietly in the corner. My daughter stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You ruined everything, she said. I took a deep breath. You started this. She laughed bitterly. You always blame me. You kicked me out of your wedding, I said softly. You threatened me for my home. Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed sharp. Because you never give willingly. I shook my head. That's not true. She slammed her hand on the table. You don't trust me. I trusted you with my heart, I replied. You broke it. She looked away. He says you're hiding money, she said suddenly. I froze. He? I asked, though I already knew. My husband, she said. He says you're manipulating everything. I leaned forward. Did he tell you about his own secrets? She frowned. What secrets? I held her gaze. Ask him about the accounts. The fake names. Her face went pale. You're lying, she whispered. I'm not, I said. And deep down you know it. She stood up abruptly. This conversation is over. As she walked out, she stopped at the door. If he falls, she said without turning, I will never forgive you. The door closed. I sat there shaking. Because I knew what I had just done. I had planted a seed. And seeds grow. That night, the lawyer came with more news. They're fighting, he said. How do you know? I asked. They called separate lawyers, he replied. That's never a good sign. I lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Everything was breaking apart. The family. The lies. The future. And yet, the worst was still coming. Because the lawyer's phone rang. He answered, listened, then looked at me slowly. They filed an emergency claim, he said. For what? I asked. To declare you unfit, he replied. My heart stopped. They want control, he continued. Not just of the house. Of you. I whispered. They want to take my life. He nodded. And that, he said firmly, is where this ends. But deep inside I knew. This fight was no longer just about property. It was about survival. And someone was about to make a move that could not be undone. I never imagined my own child would try to erase me while I was still breathing. When the lawyer told me they filed a claim to declare me unfit, my ears rang. I felt like the room was spinning. Unfit. I repeated slowly. To do what? To make decisions, he said carefully. To manage your property. To live alone. I stared at him. They want to control me. Yes, he replied. Legally. My chest felt tight. I pressed my hand against it and took slow breaths. They are saying you are confused, he continued. That you are being manipulated. That you are no longer capable. I laughed weakly. I have never been stronger in my mind than I am now. That doesn't always matter, he said gently. What matters is what they can convince others to believe. That night, I cried quietly into my pillow. Not because I was scared of losing the house, but because my daughter was trying to take my voice. The next morning, I received an official letter. It said I was required to attend a medical evaluation. My hands shook as I read it. They want to prove I am sick, I whispered. The lawyer nodded. They want to paint a picture. I felt anger rise inside me. A deep, burning anger. I raised her alone after her father died, I said. I paid every bill. I survived everything. And now she wants to say I can't think. The lawyer placed his hand gently on mine. That is why we fight this properly. The day of the evaluation came quickly. Too quickly. The building was white and cold. The air smelled like cleaning liquid. Everything felt unfamiliar. My daughter and her husband were already there. They did not sit near me. They did not speak to me. They whispered to each other and avoided my eyes. When the doctor called my name, my heart raced. I walked in slowly and sat down. The doctor was kind. Calm. He asked simple questions. What is today's date? Who is the president? Can you tell me why you are here? I answered everything clearly. I told him my story. I told him about the threats, the pressure, the break-in. I told him how afraid I had been. He listened carefully. Then he asked something that surprised me. Do you feel safe with your daughter? He asked. I hesitated. I wanted to lie. I wanted to protect her. But then I remembered the wedding, the threats, the papers. No, I said quietly. I don't. He nodded and wrote something down. When I walked out, my daughter stood up. Well, she asked sharply. What did you say? I told the truth, I replied. Her husband stepped closer. You should be careful what you say. I looked him in the eye. You should be careful what you do. That afternoon, the lawyer called me. The doctor's report is not in their favor, he said. Relief washed over me. But, he added, they are not done. What now? I asked. They are pushing harder, he replied. They filed another request. For what? I whispered. Emergency guardianship, he said. My knees nearly gave way. They want full control, I said. Over everything. Yes, he replied. And they are using something new. What? I asked. He paused. They are saying you are being abused. I laughed in disbelief. Abused? By who? By your lawyer, he said softly. My mouth fell open. They are claiming he is manipulating you for money, he continued. That he convinced you to turn against your own child. I felt sick. They are lying, I said. Yes, he replied. But lies can be dangerous. That evening, my daughter called me. Her voice was soft. Too soft. Mom, she said, why are you doing this? I closed my eyes. Why did you kick me out of your wedding? I asked. She was silent. Why did you threaten me? I continued. She sighed. You don't understand how hard my life is. And making mine harder helps you? I asked. She began to cry. I just wanted security, she said. He said this was the only way. He, I repeated. Yes, she whispered. My husband. I felt my heart ache. He told me you were weak, she said. That you'd never fight back. I swallowed hard. And now? I asked. She hesitated. Now I'm not so sure. Before I could respond, the line went dead. The next day, something terrifying happened. 2 people came to see me. Not police. Not doctors. Officials. They stood at the door with serious faces. We are here regarding a guardianship request, one of them said. My heart pounded. We need to ask you some questions, the other added. I invited them in, my hands trembling. They looked around. Took notes. Asked about my routine. My memory. My finances. I answered calmly. But inside, I was screaming. This is what it feels like to be erased. After they left, I broke down. I cried harder than I had cried in years. The lawyer arrived soon after. They're pushing all their cards, he said. Which means they're running out of time. But what if they win? I asked. He looked at me seriously. Then we appeal. I nodded slowly. That night, I could not sleep. And just before dawn, my phone buzzed. A message from my daughter. 1 line. I never meant for it to go this far. I stared at the screen, tears falling. Because I knew something she didn't yet understand. It had already gone too far. And tomorrow, a decision would be made. One that could take everything from me. Or finally set me free. The morning of the hearing arrived with a heavy sky. Dark clouds hung low, as if the world itself was holding its breath. I sat quietly in the back seat of the car, my hands folded in my lap, staring out the window without really seeing anything. Today was the day they would decide if I was still allowed to be myself. If I could still choose where I lived. If I could still control what I owned. If I could still speak for my own life. The lawyer sat beside me, calm and steady. Whatever happens, he said softly, remember this, you told the truth. That matters. I nodded, but my heart was racing. When we arrived at the courthouse, my stomach tightened. The building was tall and cold, made of stone and silence. Every step inside echoed too loudly. I saw my daughter across the room. She stood beside her husband. They looked nervous. For the first time since this nightmare began, they did not look powerful. They looked afraid. My daughter glanced at me, our eyes meeting for a brief moment. I searched her face for something, regret, love, anything. But she looked away. The hearing began. The judge listened quietly as my daughter's lawyer spoke first. He painted a picture of me as fragile, confused, easily influenced. She is elderly, he said. She is isolated. She does not understand complex legal matters. Each word felt like a slap. Then he spoke about the house. About how my daughter only wanted to protect me. I clenched my hands to keep from shaking. When it was my lawyer's turn, he stood slowly. Your Honor, he said, this is not a case of protection. This is a case of control. He presented the threats, the messages, the break-in, the attempt to force me to sign papers. The room grew quiet. My daughter shifted in her seat. Then the judge looked at me. Do you wish to speak? She asked. My heart nearly stopped. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak, but my voice did not. I raised my daughter with love, I began. I worked my whole life. I paid for my home. I lived quietly and honestly. I took a deep breath. I was humiliated at her wedding, I continued. Then I was threatened for my property. And when I said no, they tried to say my mind was gone. I looked directly at my daughter. My body may be old, I said, but my mind is clear. And I know when someone is trying to take my life away while I am still alive. There were murmurs in the room. The judge nodded slowly. Then something unexpected happened. My daughter's husband stood up. He did not look at me. He looked at the judge. "This is unnecessary," he said sharply. "We only wanted what was fair." My lawyer smiled slightly. "Then you won't mind explaining this," he said, handing over another file. "Bank records. Account names. Numbers." The judge's expression changed. "What is this?" she asked. The lawyer spoke clearly. "Evidence of financial misconduct, hidden funds, and a strong motive." My daughter turned to her husband in shock. "What is he talking about?" she whispered loudly. Her husband did not answer. The silence was loud. The judge called for a short recess. In the hallway, my daughter finally approached me. Her face was pale. "Is it true?" she asked. "About the money?" I looked at her sadly. "You should ask him." She turned toward her husband, her eyes full of doubt. And for the first time, I saw something break between them. When we returned, the judge spoke firmly. "This court sees no evidence that the respondent is unfit," she said. "In fact, the evidence suggests coercion." My heart pounded. "The request for guardianship is denied," she continued. Relief washed over me so fast my knees nearly buckled. But the judge was not finished. "Additionally," she said, "this court is concerned about the conduct of the petitioners." My daughter's husband swallowed hard. "This matter may be referred for further investigation." My daughter's face crumpled. The hearing was over. Outside the courthouse, the air felt lighter. I could breathe again. But my daughter followed me. "Mom," she said quietly, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't know. He told me lies." I looked at her. "I warned you," I said softly. "More than once." She reached for my hand. "I was wrong," she whispered. I pulled my hand back gently. "I love you," I said. "But love does not mean silence." She nodded, crying. As we walked away, my lawyer leaned toward me. "This isn't over," he said. "But today you won." I nodded. Yet deep inside, I knew something else. Winning in court did not mean the danger was gone. Because power, once tasted, does not disappear quietly. And as we reached the car, my phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown number. "You think this is over. It's not." My heart tightened. Because the final chapter of this fight had not yet been written. After the hearing, I thought the worst was behind me. I was wrong. The days that followed were quiet on the outside, but inside everything felt tense, like the calm before a storm. I returned to my home with police advice, new locks, and neighbors watching more closely than before. But peace did not return with me. At night, I sat alone in my living room, listening to the house breathe. Every shadow felt like a warning. Every sound made my heart jump. The lawyer checked on me daily. "They are cornered," he said during one visit. "And cornered people do dangerous things." I nodded. I already felt it. My daughter did not call again. Her husband did not send messages. That silence frightened me more than the threats. Then, one afternoon, a letter arrived. No return address. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "If you don't end this now, the truth about you will come out." I stared at the words, confused. What truth? I wondered. I had nothing to hide. I called the lawyer immediately. "This is intimidation," he said. "Do not respond." But that evening, the truth they meant revealed itself. A neighbor knocked on my door. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. "Yes," I replied. "Why?" She hesitated. "There are rumors." My chest tightened. "What kind of rumors?" She looked uncomfortable. That you were abusive. That you abandoned your daughter when she was young. That you're lying about everything. I felt like I had been punched. They're lying, I whispered. I know, she said quickly. But people are talking. By the next morning, the lies had spread. Family members stopped calling. Some friends avoided me. Others sent short messages. Is it true? Why didn't you tell us? I sat on my couch, shaking. This was their new plan. If they could not take my house, they would take my name. I called my daughter. She did not answer. I left a message. Please stop this. This is destroying me. Hours passed. Then my phone rang. It was her. Her voice was tired, flat. He's doing it, she said. Not me. Then stop him, I begged. I can't, she replied. I tried. My heart broke all over again. Why are you still with him? I asked. There was silence. Then she said something that chilled me. Because he has something on me too. Before I could ask what she meant, the line went dead. That night, the lawyer came over in a hurry. They filed another action, he said. For what? I asked, my voice shaking. To freeze the trust temporarily, he replied. They're claiming fraud. I stood up in disbelief. Fraud? On what grounds? They're saying your late husband manipulated documents, he said. And that you knew. Tears filled my eyes. They're dragging his name too? I whispered. The lawyer nodded grimly. Yes. Something inside me snapped. I am done being quiet, I said firmly. He looked at me carefully. What are you thinking? I'm thinking, I said, it's time for the whole truth to come out. He paused. Including what you haven't told me yet? I swallowed. There is something else, I admitted. He waited. A recording, I said softly. His eyes widened. Of what? Of my daughter's husband, I replied. From years ago. He didn't know I was there. He was talking about money. About hiding it. About using marriage as a way in. The lawyer leaned forward slowly. Do you still have it? He asked. I nodded. I kept it, I said. I never thought I'd need it. He exhaled sharply. That changes everything, he said. The next morning, something else happened. I woke up to shouting outside. I looked through the window. My daughter stood at my gate. Alone. She looked different. Broken. I opened the door cautiously. She dropped to her knees. I can't do this anymore, she cried. He's destroying everything. I helped her inside. She sobbed like a child. He's threatening me, she said. If I leave him, he'll ruin me. I held her, my heart torn. He's already ruining you, I said gently. She looked up at me. Do you really have proof? Yes, I replied. Enough to stop him. Her face went pale. If you use it, she whispered, he'll come after you. I met her eyes. He already has. She stayed with me that night. For the first time in a long while, my daughter slept under my roof. But peace did not last. Just before midnight, the lights went out. The house went dark. My heart began to race. Then my phone buzzed. A message. I warned you. This ends now. Suddenly, there was a loud bang at the back of the house. My daughter screamed. I grabbed my phone and dialed emergency services. Another bang. Stronger. Closer. I stood between my daughter and the door, my heart pounding. Because I knew, in that moment, this was his final move. And whatever happened next would decide everything. The bang came again. Louder. The back door shook so hard the walls trembled. My daughter screamed and grabbed my arm. My heart was racing, but something inside me became very calm. This was it. I had spent my whole life running from conflict, staying quiet, forgiving too quickly. But in that moment, fear turned into clarity. I pressed the phone to my ear as emergency services answered. "Someone is trying to break into my house," I said clearly. "We are inside. We are scared." I gave the address. The operator told me to stay on the line. Another crash. Wood cracked. My daughter was crying uncontrollably. "It's him," she sobbed. "I know it's him." I pulled her close. "Go to the bedroom. Lock the door. Stay low. I'm not leaving you," she cried. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in a long while, I saw my child again. Not the woman who betrayed me. Just my daughter. "I'm not going anywhere," I said firmly. "But you need to be safe." She nodded, shaking, and ran down the hallway. I stayed in the living room, my phone still pressed to my ear. The back door finally burst open. Footsteps. Heavy. Angry. My heart pounded, but I did not scream. I stood my ground. Then a voice filled the room. "You should have stayed quiet," he said. My daughter's husband stepped into the light. His face was twisted with rage. Desperate rage. "You lost," I said calmly. He laughed. "You think calling the police saves you?" "Yes," I replied. "And the truth saves me too." He froze. "What truth?" he snapped. I smiled sadly. "The kind you never thought I had." Sirens wailed in the distance. He panicked. "You won't use it," he said. "You're too weak." I looked him straight in the eyes. I survived losing my husband. I survived raising a child alone. I survived being humiliated, threatened, and almost erased, I said. "I am not weak." He took a step back. Too late. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Police rushed in. He tried to run. He didn't make it far. They arrested him right there in my living room. When my daughter came out and saw him in handcuffs, she collapsed into tears. Not tears of loss, but relief. In the days that followed, everything came out. The hidden money. The lies. The manipulation. The recording. The trust was secured permanently. The house was mine. Legally, fully, and forever. The false rumors were exposed for what they were. And my daughter. She moved out of the shadow she had been living in. We did not heal overnight. Some wounds take time. But one evening weeks later, she sat across from me at the same table where they once pushed papers at me. "I was wrong," she said quietly. "About everything." I nodded. "I know. I don't deserve forgiveness," she added. I looked at her for a long moment. "Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting," I said. "It means choosing not to let hate finish the job pain started." She cried. And this time, I held her. I am still living in my home. I wake up every morning knowing I protected myself. Knowing I chose my life. Knowing that even when the people closest to you try to break you, you still have the right to stand. And if this story touched you, if it reminded you that strength has no age, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories like this. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And if you've ever had to stand up to someone you love to protect yourself, share your story below. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is refuse to disappear.